right, welcome to the start of our new, brand new series for 2024, Scaling for Success. We're very excited to spend the year talking about digital marketing during these pivotal growth times in everyone's business. We have a ton of amazing content fleshed out for the entire year already. We are recording this and it will be available for your viewing afterwards as well. If you want to move on to the next slide there. So I'll share a little bit about myself and Nicole and Keystone Click and what we're focusing on, the 5 factors that indicate it's time to scale. And I think this is something that we hear a lot of people asking these questions about scaling and when to be aware of. When is it the right time to really go all in with your scaling efforts? So Keystone Click is a strategic digital marketing agency. We help our clients build brand awareness and generate leads online. We do that by first conducting research to help our clients better understand their customer. We very much believe that in order to properly market to your customer, you need to understand them. We take that data and the insights that we collect, we build a strategic plan and support the full implementation of it. I'm Lori Hybe, the CEO and founder, and my co-host today is Nicole Morton.
Hi, I'm the Director of Marketing Operations for Keystone Click, and I'm excited to get rolling with this new content for 2024. It's going to be very exciting. So if at any time you have questions or comments, feel free to use the chat function or the Q&A function. And again, we'll have some time at the end of the presentation to open the floor to questions. So here's what we're going to cover today. So we need to understand what scaling is. Where is that tipping point? Where have you maxed out and it's time to look at scaling as an option? We'll identify where that tipping point is and indicators that it might be time for you to consider this, getting past this growth plateau in your business. And then we'll have a list of action items for you to implement, and we can discuss what is the best way to get started.
So a bigger business isn't always the goal of scaling. There's other things that you have to really take into consideration. It could be overcoming obstacles. It could be realizing the unrealized potential that's happening. Launching your company into long-term, steady, sustainable growth is really kind of that big picture objective. It's not always cut and dry as typical business growth is. There's definitely a difference between typical standard, hey, we want to grow by 10-15%, this year. Scaling, I like to think of it as like that hockey stick kind of growth curve opportunity that's out there, where you have, your growth this way is the foot of the hockey stick, and then the stick itself, that's a scaling to kind of go really big at the end of the day. So you need to make sure that your company is properly prepared for that success by developing a strong plan and strategy. That's where we really are big advocates of planning ahead. If you let the increasing demand take you by surprise, you run the risk of losing clients, making people unhappy, potential partnerships, brand equity. So there's definitely risk in just not taking the time to plan.
So let's talk about where that tipping point is that Lori referred to. So when you're starting to plateau, and you're just about to take on that huge undertaking to grow your business. So, it's maybe that uncomfortable spot where your market share has slowed or stagnated, that your revenue growth, you're starting to notice that your year over year or month over month performance metrics are kind of plateauing. You're not seeing the growth numbers that you have seen in the past. And the whole point of you getting into this business venture in the first place is because you want to progress, and that innovative thinking and that strategic thinking kind of drives your day to day. And you may find that the business model that you have been using for the last 2 to 3 to 5 years is no longer suiting you, and it's time for a change.
One of the things that I hear over and over again, I imagine you do as well, is to know your numbers. When it comes to running a successful business, it comes down to the data and understanding where you are and having overall awareness of the health by looking at collecting the right data points. That's extremely important, but evaluating which areas of the business may have some holes that need to be filled before you can properly scale is just as important. So the insights that you get from the data can help you assess those resources and capabilities, which can highlight areas for that development and act as that springboard for building and implementing your growth strategy. Done right, data-driven insights help you sustainably grow your demand, retain your audience, and keep them engaged through that entire growth initiative. It's going to help you attract more of that ideal fit prospects that you want to be working with. It's going to help you maintain your brand reputation overall. And that's something that's really, really important, is to make sure that the time and energy that you've built in getting your brand here, as you're scaling, you don't want to be at risk for losing that brand equity. So maintaining and growing and evolving that brand reputation is definitely critical.
So those data-driven insights that Lori refers to are going to give you clues about whether your business is reaching that pivotal point. But we have very specific indicators that we want to talk to you about this afternoon that might give you an idea that it's time to make a move. So these will help you decide whether it's the right time. So the first of which that we wanted to talk about is leadership focus. So when your leadership has the right tools, the right team, the right processes in place that allow you to free up to do more of the strategic, high-level growth and thinking initiatives, it might be time for you to scale. So if you have a staff where you have trusted decision makers in place that allow you to think about new initiatives, to grow your network, to grow your brand recognition, it might be time to start thinking about growing your business. One thing that we've been talking about over the last year is having the systems and processes in place so that all of it leaves room for high value work. So we're not grinding numbers. We're letting the tools do the work for us so that we can be doing that higher value thinking. And not only that, you've created a company culture that allows your employees to feel engaged in this process and aligned with your growth goals.
Yeah, and so knowing your numbers really comes down to the financial side of things. I think it's extremely important to look at these triggers to really make sure that you are in the right opportunity to scale. So first and foremost, do you have consistent profit margins? If your balance sheet is an up and down roller coaster, that might not be the time to really emphasize your scalability, but maybe cleaning up some of those areas or creating some more of that smoother line trajectory for consistent growth. Evaluating our opportunity for capital investment. So what I'm not saying, and we all heard that to make money you have to spend money, and that's not necessarily what we're saying here, but a level of scaling does require some level of investment. So it might be that you need to scale your team, your messaging, finding other areas that have the opportunity to kind of expand that bigger reach or offering. But you want to make sure that you have that consistent profit margin to work with. Evaluate your additional sources for investment, but also looking at that market demand. So there's two things that you want to look at there. I would look at is the demand higher than what you can fulfill? So there's a couple of things that you can do. You can either increase your rates or scale your team to be able to support that demand at the end of the day. So evaluating what's happening in the market can be a big indicator of whether or not it's time to scale. And I look at what's happening in our industry specifically around, artificial intelligence, and that's making some big waves in opportunities for us to evaluate scaling.
And further to that point, it's broader than just what the demand is exerting on the company. There's a bunch of different factors in the market that you need to consider, including what's going on with your competition. So if your competition is leveling up, that would be motivation in and of itself to take on an effort to scale your business. But if it strategically makes sense, it'll give you allow you to keep pace with or get a leg up on the competition in the market. This may be something that would be a motivating factor. Growing your customer base is always a goal, but scale gives you an opportunity to serve your existing customer base in a new and more engaging way, at the same time giving you an opportunity to move into new market segments and attract a new client, a new audience and a client base. And also just deciding whether new market segments geographically or by industry are right for you. The data is going to show you where you have opportunities, and knowing the in depth about your business will give you clues on where your next steps could be.
Yeah, I want to talk to that real quick, actually, if you go back to that slide.
Sure.
There was a conversation I had today with someone that we're going to start doing some business here soon. And some of the high level research that we did was about those potential target markets. And the high level research, just real random, showed that there's a high opportunity for his service offering in Louisiana, which he's located on the East Coast and kind of used to working more East Coast clientele. But the research showed that it's to some extent an untapped market, but they have high demand based on search. So that's part of the conversation that we're having with him is how do we, get his business in front of that audience in that market.
Mm-hmm.
Research is powerful.
For sure.
Oh my gosh, I know Nicole's gonna love that I'm speaking for this, but it is a practice that we've instilled, and we are constantly auditing the tools and the resources that we have at our disposal. I mean, there's a number of digital resources that we subscribe to on a monthly or annual basis. We have strategic partnerships that we work with, and just making sure that those tools and resources that we have will indeed support that demand and that scaling opportunity. So it's very important to keep tabs on that. And some of the questions that you want to ask yourself is this serving my need now? And from a tool and resource standpoint, are these the right tools to fulfill the need that my team needs? So not only am I doing this audit, but we actually ask every single person on the team on a quarterly basis, is this tool helping you do your job? Do you wish, are there holes in this tool or this resource that's available? So we're making some major shifts right now. As I mentioned, AI is kind of a big factor into that. AI has proven to create a ton of efficiencies, which allows for that scaling opportunity. New tools come out every single day in the AI world. So we're not only just jumping in and playing with those tools, but we're developing a process to continue to evaluate, how new tools are indeed audited to see if they should be part of our toolbox, or how do we determine if something that is currently in the toolbox, it's time to put that item to sleep and move on to something bigger and better. So it's important to continue to evaluate new opportunities, new tools, new resources that are going to help you with that. And I'm just going to throw this out here because I keep talking about AI. There's a website called there'sanaIforthat.com. And if you have a specific, let's say, pain point or challenge or room for efficiency or process you're trying to automate, that website will give you a ton of recommendations for AI specific tools that will help you kind of fill that void or solve that problem. So I definitely recommend taking a look at that as a central repository for potential, resources to audit.
Lori, do you want to talk a little bit about training and education as a resource and how that plays into the decision of how and when to scale?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be somewhat dependent on the industry that you're in, obviously. But as I look at our industry, again, but AI is something that's hitting all industries right now.
For sure.
I very much believe that we have to be at the very least one step ahead of where our clients and our target audience are from an educational standpoint. And if you're looking to scale and reach bigger markets, bigger audiences, you have to understand where their benchmark is from an educational standpoint and continue to make sure that your team is, at the very least one step ahead from that. So investing time, energy, and resources into the right tools, conferences, whatever that is to help bring, next level, your making sure that you're maintaining the brand reputation, which we'll talk about in just a minute here, but also, everyone's on the same page to continue to be that value add resource to your customer base.
Mm-hmm. And I think that kind of curiosity serves your business growth well. For us specifically, our team, we have We're always exchanging resources in our Slack channel, trying to find out, what's new. I get a lot of value out of industry newsletters that'll kind of give me tips and tricks and opportunities to go to webinars or conferences or even articles and resources. And so that, that curiosity is going to serve you well.
Love that.
Oh, brand reputation. This is my favorite.
I know it is.
It is. It's my favorite. So it goes without saying, your positive brand reputation is probably your most important asset, contributes to your customers' trust, their brand loyalty, and just it supports your overall business success. So when it's influencing customer behavior outward, it's attracting talent inward, and it's just supporting the overall resilience and sustainability of your business. So you want to understand what your customers are thinking. They're the backbone of your business. Evaluating the conversations that they're having with sales, with customer support, doing some social listening to understand what they're saying about you in public is invaluable to understanding whether or not you have the support in place to be able to scale. Strong support from your diehard fans and advocates is going to build more momentum that you can obviously leverage while you're scaling. The scaling also gives you an opportunity to meet or exceed expectations of your loyal brand advocates. If you haven't had a chance to implement new tactics like loyalty programs or community building, maybe the resources as you scale will allow you to be able to do that. But consistency is absolutely key. We've talked many, many times over the last webinars during last year about how, your consistency and your positioning, your visual branding, your messaging, even as you're growing and scaling, is going to reinforce that brand loyalty, and also attract new prospects.
All right. So yeah, next steps. How can you move forward with this? We opened up with the data, make sure that you are looking at the right data points. And I think in our digital world, data can be extremely overwhelming. There's a ton of analysis paralysis, but at the same time, I would say only probably about like 3% of the data that's at our hands is actually of value and useful. So you want to make sure that you're looking at the data that's going to help you make an intelligent business decision moving forward. You want to take a look at the resources that you have. That's your team, that's your tools, that's your strategic partners, and really flesh out what I always like to. I'm a big fan of the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Start with the end of mind. So which I always forget if it's habit number 2 or habit number 3, whatever. It's one of those two. But when you're looking at your resources and all of these components, looking at what the end goal is, the end objective for your scaling and growth that you really want to push, and then reverse engineer that plan. And that's going to look at where you are today, where you want to be, what are the holes, and that's going to give you a kind of a cleaner picture of really evaluating your resources. Doing some research on your market and looking at, is there a demand? Is the demand increasing? Is there new opportunities in markets that you haven't quite served yet that's going to help you with that scalability? And then finally, really fleshing out that strategy and build that roadmap. Know where it is that you're trying to achieve. And I like to use the GPS device. I mean, every single, you get in your car, you plug in your smartphone, your end destination, and that route is created for you. That's no different in your business. Any business plan, any strategy, initiative, whatever it is, you need to know what that end goal is that you're trying to achieve in order to build the roadmap to get to your destination.
All right, we're ready to open up the floor.
All right.
Very exciting.
So definitely throw some questions in the chat. And it looks like there's some popping in there. You want to read that one?
Yeah, here's a good one. Okay. How do I know when it's the right time to delegate tasks to others and start focusing on the bigger picture?
Oh, that's a good question. And I've worn this hat, and I could say I'm probably still wearing this hat a little bit. But there's a lot of things that you need to understand. First and foremost, understand the value of your time.
Mm.
And really get clear on what is the best use of your time. And I ask myself these things: is this the best use of my time? And can someone else actually be doing this task? So some of the activities that I've done is I've conducted a time study of my own activities, and there's some questions. So I'm not judging my activities. I'm just really being thorough and logging. These are the specific things I did. And this is how much time it took me. And I would say it's a good week to 2 week activity. So then you have a lot of data to look at and analyze. One of the things that's really important when you're doing this, when you look at the time investment, is to know that true value of your time. Is if you break it down into, hey, I'm worth $500 an hour, I'm worth $2,000 an hour, whatever that is. And then when you start looking at those activities and you break it down, okay, it took me 15 minutes to do that. Well, if you're $2,000 an hour is the value of your time, then you're saying that was worth $500. And does that task equal $500? Or is that something that you can pay someone $20 an hour to do that task for you? And really and that's going to give you some clarity on, this is not the best use of my time. The other thing that I look at in that time study is, are there repeatable tasks that are being done that either you can outsource, get an assistant, a VA, or leverage any sort of automation or artificial intelligence tool to streamline some of those activities. And really it's just asking yourself, am I the best person to be doing this task, or is this something that I can pass off to someone else? And then once you start eliminating those day-to-day operational activities, that's going to give you more time, power, and energy to be that strategic leader that's really going to push the scaling and bring your organization to that next level.
So good. It's so important.
Here's one for you. Could you share some practical steps to ensure consistent branding and leverage positive customer feedback during the scaling process?
Yes, I can. Branding is my favorite. Consistency. I can't overemphasize it enough. Across your branding, across all your messaging, across all channels. Now, is there nuance to these conversations? Yes. But, showing up as someone fresh and brand new during the scaling will have a significant impact on the relationship with your audience. And that's, you've worked so hard to cultivate this brand equity, build all of this brand awareness, the authority, the trust. And so, making sure that that's consistent through this entire growth process is going to be absolutely key. Again, listening to what's going on with your audience, even engaging them in conversation, responding to comments, positive or negative. It's important to make sure that they understand that this is an exchange of ideas, an exchange of value. Again, leveraging your brand advocates to create that momentum that you're going to need to get through this process. And if you need more information or ideas about that, if you want to refer back to the webinars that we did last year in October, November, and December that talk specifically about branding and building brand advocacy, that'll give you a lot more in-depth information that kind of will shepherd you through this process.
All right. Any other questions? Doesn't look like it. I mean, you can reach out at any time with any questions.
Absolutely.
So hope you've enjoyed the insights and you found them valuable. Scaling successfully takes time and it requires a plan. Definitely a big fan of being strategic in our actions, as opposed to throwing darts in the dark and hoping and praying that something actually sticks.
No.
Leverage the data, the right data, have that plan, and you're going to be set up for that sustainable growth.
Absolutely. So as a thank you for spending your valuable time with us, and for those of you who are watching the replay, hi, future you. We would invite you to come and join us for a consultation with any of the account managers, myself or Lori or any of the team, to talk about whether your current digital marketing efforts are in place to support your business growth goals. So you can use the URL that's listed here. You can scan the QR code that'll send you straight to our website so we can get a chance to connect. We would love to speak with you. And we'd also like to join us next month on February 22nd at 1 Central for the next in our series, Segmentation 101, How to Craft Messages for Different Audiences. And we hope that you will join us for this important conversation about how you communicate while you're undertaking these growth goals.
All right. Thanks a lot again for being a part of the webinar or watching the replay. If you have any questions, any marketing, digital marketing, reach out. I love having these types of conversations. So does Nicole. We definitely geek out about it, which you probably observed a little bit during this. We're here to help you succeed. That's our mission, is to help our clients in the community better leverage and understand the power of digital marketing.
So thanks
All
so much for joining us, and we wish you all the best in your business growth.